neckline?
Good.
Yeah.
Brief,
I figured you did. Yeah. What?
vaguely.
Vague. Oh, you guys. Well, let's hope you remember it.
By tomorrow.
Huh?
By tomorrow.
Yes. All right. So do you remember on the convertible neckline, we're going to make it a little bit more snug around the neck. So that the crosswise grain that I used to go all the way around the neck, I'm going to draw another line in that we're going to use by the time we get to the front, so it will hug the neck a little bit more. All right. So this one, it did hug the neck, but probably not quite as much as the convertible collar will. And also on the Chinese collar, I slanted it in just a little bit to make it a little bit more fitted. If you want, you could go straight up on that and over. And then if you did that, I'm going to show you real quick. If I were to just take it like this, see, and I did this on the grain line, and then this one went over a little bit like that to slant it, but what if well actually that's how I did it. But I could have even gone straight up and down, and this is what it would look like. So it would be even a little bit more away from the neck. So you could do, if you want to kind of bring that in a little closer, you can, or if you want to just take this and go straight up. Either one. It's a standing collar, a little Chinese collar. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the convertible neckline one. So again, the first thing we need to do is do our 1 inch. Okay, along center, this will be along center back. Okay. And then I'm going to do the 1 inch here at the neck seam. Okay, so I'm just going to mark that. We have lots of these rulers if you want to use one of those while you're at it. Okay. All right, so there's my lines that I need, but I need to draw one more in for this one. So what I'm going to do is, over in this area here, I'm going to go up a ½ inch and draw another line. Okay. So I think I'll use this one so that I can see through this. So I'm just going to do that guideline. I don't know exactly where it's going to end up, so I just did an extra. Okay? So now, do you guys remember how we did this? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is fold back the center back, so that it'll stay. And I'm going to also start to slash the neck. All right, and remembering that I don't want to go through where this seam goes, right? Or we're in trouble. Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in. Okay, so again, anchor your pins, or sink them, we should say, and then I'm just going to put this in, and then I can figure out how tall or how high I want it to come. Okay, so now, so I'm going to follow my seam right up to the shoulder seam. Okay, but let me show you the difference between using just a straight line for the neck and the convertible neck. So if I follow the bottom line and bring it. Well, let me pin this first. I'll get that pinned right here at the shoulder. Okay. Okay, so there's that. And then if I were to bring this straight, here I'm going to fold it so you can see this. If I were to bring this straight along the neck seam, okay, like right here, you can see how it kind of, wait, let's bring that. Okay, so I bring that straight line right to the neck, it kind of goes like this, all right? And goes straight up, so you've got it more like that. But if I use the convertible neckline, so now what I'm gonna do is by the time I get to center front, I'm gonna make sure I'm at that line that's a half an inch up. So I've gotta stare at this. So when you're, I'm just gonna put in a few more slashes. So when you're draping, you have to be right in front of your dress form, really.
And then you have to slash in the second line.
Yes, yeah, I can do that. I can go through the first line because that's not my seam line anymore. So I'm going to follow this and look, okay, so can you see how it's kind of starting to buckle right there?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go through the first line. You're gonna need sharp scissors for this. So I'm gonna go through that first line up to the second line. You don't wanna do this before because you don't know exactly where you're gonna end up. And there, okay, so now I come down to the second line. And so I've got it nice and snug along the neck. And then I gotta put my pin in. Okay, that's not good. Okay, and there's a big, kind of a knife in here, so you have to be careful not to go around that somehow. Huh, okay. All right, but now see, I'm getting a little bit of buckling here. So you wanna keep it pretty straight along that seam to the line, to the shoulder seam. But right here, I am going to slash just a little bit, okay? Just a little kind of lay down. All right, so, okay, so you can see how I kept it there. Now, I don't want to be, okay, I gotta be careful here because the seam is right here, so I can't go past that. But it does, you can see where it starts to end up and go into the neck. All right, everyone can see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, okay, I've got it marked here. Make sure that's nice and smooth. It's a little bit long, this fabric, this, yeah, this one's a little bit longer, so it's a little bit harder to work with as far as this part. But I think we're good. Okay, so now I'm gonna mark it. Okay, and I think on this one, I'm going to keep it at that 1.25 inches. So I'm just putting a mark there. And I need to mark, I'm gonna use a different color than what I started with, so you can see it. So here's my shoulder line. And then I'm gonna go over to my center front. Okay, here we are. Here's my center front. And between the shoulder and the center front, I have a new line now, right? As I traveled from this one to this one. So now I'm just gonna put some little dots. Okay, you can kind of feel, and do you see how small? Just do small dots. Okay, so by doing a series of dots, if I've got one out of place, I just kind of correct it when I draw them in. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is I've gotta go up from the neck, okay? So find my neck seam, go 1.25 inches, and this is where I do the little L again, okay? So I've got that here. Now I could follow the neck up, but because I know that's a straight line, I'm just gonna draw it in because I've got the 2 points. Shoulder, neck seam, I marked where this goes, so I'm okay, I'm ready now to take it off, all right? Okay, so let's, okay, all right, so now let's put this up here and we'll finish doing our lines. Okay, so can you guys Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is draw in my neck seam from the shoulder over. So you can use a variform, but this is pretty good. And okay, so I barely didn't go through the line. Okay, right here. So make sure you don't do that, all right? So you wanna just go right, you can go up to the seam line, but not through it.
If you did go through it, we would have to do it
You
again.
probably have to start over, yeah,
Okay.
because you couldn't really use that.
Okay.
Like you can't give a drape to someone with a big slash in it. All right, so you want to do that. And this is kind of, well, I think variform would look very nice here. Okay, now I'm going to do my straight line along my center front. And then I'm going to do my 1 1/4 inch. Okay, and I'm just gonna mark this in with some dots again. Okay, so that I get that where it needs to be, but because this is now curving a little bit, I can't just draw a straight line. Okay. All right. Okay, so I measured from this neckline, 1 1/4 inch, just did a few dots, so that can help guide, all right? But now from the center back over to my shoulder seam, that could be a straight line, okay? So, okay, so there, I'm just gonna do a straight line. And then this curves, so I'm just gonna draw that in. And remember, you wanna use your dots to make, you know, if you have to go in. Now that, a variform is nice, you can see, it's a little off. Okay, so let's label center back. And I'm gonna put it on the fold, and this is center front, and this is my shoulder dot. Okay, now I need to draw in my seam line, all right? And so again, I'm gonna have to I can do this up to a point, and then I have to move my ruler, because it's curved right there. Okay, oh, look at that. So your variform makes, oh, look at that, perfect. Okay, well, this line is gonna look terrible, because this is like the 3rd time I've done it. Okay, but hey, I can make this one nicer. Okay, so just find your matching curve. Oh, see, doesn't that look better? Oh, and this one too, this is terrible. All right, there you go. Okay, so now the other thing that I do need to do is I need to trim off the neck ones. So I'm going to draw that in as well. And this is a little bit trickier because I've already slashed here, but it's still there. Okay. Let's take this down. Okay, so now we're ready to cut off the extra fabric that we have. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm just gonna cut along my seam lines, all right? And then we can even put it back on the dress form and look at it, okay? If you don't have fabric scissors here, we do have a bunch in the drawer that you can use. Okay, all right, let's see how this looks. I'll just kind of put it up in not as many places, just so we can keep moving. All right, so there's that, and remember to follow the blue line, and there, look at that. Isn't that lovely?
Beautiful.
Yes, I don't even have to pin it, it just stays on. But if I blew on it, it'd probably come on. Okay, so you can see how with the convertible neckline, it's gonna hug the neck better, all right? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. After I take